Once upon a time, in a large and bustling city, there lived a billionaire named Eric. He had everything a man could dream of: fancy cars, a mansion, and more money than he could ever spend. But despite all his wealth, Eric felt lonely. He knew people only saw his money and power, not his heart. He had been in many relationships, but none of the women truly loved him. They were drawn to his wealth, not to the man he was inside. The more this happened, the emptier he felt. He wanted someone who would love him for who he really was, not because he could buy them expensive things. One day, Eric came up with an idea. He would leave behind his luxurious life and go undercover, pretending to be a crippled beggar. He thought that if he could meet someone who would care for him while he appeared poor and helpless, that person might truly love him. When he told his parents about his plan, they were very worried. His mother, a well-known businesswoman, and his father, a powerful politician, tried to talk him out of it. "Eric, you could be recognized. What if someone dangerous finds out who you are? You could be kidnapped or harmed," his father said, his voice filled with concern. "I'll be careful. I'm going far away to a place where no one knows me," Eric reassured them. He was determined to find real love, no matter the risks. His mind was made up. He left his mansion behind and traveled to a small village far from the city. There he dressed in old, torn clothes and sat in a wheelchair. Rolling himself to a quiet street corner, he hoped no one would recognize him. With his hand outstretched, he began to beg. "Please help me," he whispered, hoping someone would notice. "Stop." He felt nervous and vulnerable. It was the first time in his life he had ever asked strangers for anything. For days, Eric sat on the street watching people pass by. Most didn't even look at him. Some gave him a quick glance before hurrying away. He had never felt so invisible. Then one day a girl named Destiny walked by. She was different. Young, probably in her early 20s, with kind eyes and a gentle spirit. She didn't have much herself. Her family was poor, and her father, Roland, worked hard on their small farm to make ends meet. But despite her struggles, Destiny always found a way to smile. As she passed Eric's spot, she noticed him sitting in his wheelchair, looking tired and hungry. Her heart softened. She stopped and bent down, gazing into his eyes. "Are you okay?" she asked, her voice full of concern. Eric was taken by surprise. It had been days since anyone had spoken to him. "I'm just trying to get by," he said, trying to sound weak. Destiny looked into her small purse. She didn't have much, but she couldn't walk away without helping. "Here," she said, handing him a few coins. "I know it's not much, but it's all I have right now." Eric felt a lump in his throat. Her kindness touched him in a way money never had. "Thank you," he whispered. "You don't know how much this means to me." Destiny smiled softly. "Do you have a place to stay?" she asked. Eric shook his head. "No," he said, feeling a little guilty for lying. Destiny thought for a moment. "I live with my father. Our house is small. I would have loved to help you, but I don't know if my father will agree to it." Destiny hurried home, her heart still heavy with concern for the beggar she had met. As she walked into the small house, she found her father Roland resting after a long day's work on their farm. His face, though worn from years of labor, still carried the warmth and kindness that she loved so much. "Father, I met someone in the village today." Destiny began, her voice hesitant. "A man? A beggar sitting on the street in a wheelchair. He looked so tired and hungry." Roland's eyes softened as he listened. "What did you do, Destiny?" "I gave him some of the little money I had left, but he told me he has no place to stay." Destiny explained. "I wanted to help him, but I didn't know if it was the right thing to do. Should I have done more?" Roland sighed deeply, thinking about the man Destiny had described. "You can't leave him out there alone in the night." He finally said, "No one should be left to suffer. When we have a roof over our heads, go back and bring him here. We'll make room for him." Destiny smiled. Grateful for her father's compassion, without wasting any time, she grabbed her shawl and hurried back to the spot where she had left the man when she returned. Eric was still sitting in his wheelchair, looking lost in thought. She approached him carefully, her soft voice cutting through the evening air. "My father said, you can't stay out here alone tonight," she said gently. "Come with me. We'll give you a place to sleep." Eric blinked, surprised by the offer. He had never expected such kindness from strangers, and his heart swelled with emotion. I don't know what to say," he stammered. "You don't have to say anything," Destiny replied with a kind smile. "Just let us help you with Destiny's assistance." Eric made his way back to her small, humble home. As he crossed the threshold, he couldn't help but feel a sense of warmth and safety that he hadn't felt in a long time. Destiny and her father had so little, yet they were willing to share what they had with a man they barely knew. As Eric settled into the modest room they had prepared for him, he realized that maybe, just maybe, he had finally found what he was looking for. But with his heart full of gratitude, he also felt a growing sense of guilt. He was living a lie, pretending to be something he was not. Eric spent his first night in Destiny and Roland's home, feeling a mix of relief and anxiety. The room was small, but it was clean and welcoming. As he lay on the thin mattress, he listened to the sounds of the night, the chirping of crickets and the gentle rustling of leaves outside. For the first time in a long while, he felt safe. Destiny brought him a bowl of warm soup, and Eric savored each sip. She sat on the edge of the bed, her eyes filled with kindness. "You can stay as long as you need," she said. "We want to help you." "Thank you," Eric replied, his voice barely above a whisper. "You don't know how much this means to me over the next few days." Destiny and Roland took care of Eric. They helped him with his daily needs and even made a small garden for him to sit in. Eric enjoyed spending time with Destiny. She was funny and smart, and he found himself laughing more than he had in years. One evening, as they sat together in the garden, Destiny looked at him with concern. "You seem sad sometimes," she said. "Is there something on your mind?" Eric wanted to share everything with her, but he held back. I'm grateful to be here," he replied, forcing a smile. "I've been through a lot." Destiny nodded, but Eric could see she wanted to know more. He felt a pang of guilt. How could he enjoy this happiness while hiding who he really was? Meanwhile, back in the city, Eric's parents were growing increasingly worried. They hadn't heard from him since he left, and it was unlike him to go without his phone. Every night his mother sat by the window, praying for her son's safety. Her heart ached with worry. Where could he be? She wondered aloud, her voice thick with emotion. "This is our only son. He should have told us where he was going." Eric's father tried to stay calm for his wife's sake, but he couldn't hide his concern. "I'm sure he's fine," he said, though he felt a knot in his stomach. "Chike probably just taking a break from everything. You know how he is." But each passing day without news made them more anxious. Eric's mother would cry, praying that he was safe wherever he was. One cool evening, Roland sat beside Eric in the small garden. He had been meaning to ask how Eric ended up in a wheelchair. Eric paused, his heart racing, and shared his story. He had been in an accident a few months ago. His car skidded off the road, and while he was lucky to survive, his legs were badly injured. Eric explained that the doctors had told him he could walk again, but he needed a surgery that was far too expensive for him. Roland felt deep sympathy. It was a terrible thing for a man to suffer through. Eric tried to mask his pain, but Roland could see it. He decided in his heart that he couldn't let Eric continue like this. They had to do something. The next morning, Roland pulled Destiny aside over breakfast. He spoke of Eric's condition and his need for surgery. They didn't have enough money, but Roland suggested they start small. They could sell some of their farm's produce, fruits, vegetables, maybe even some of the livestock. It wouldn't raise all the money at once, but it could be a start. Destiny admired her father's generosity and determination. They didn't have much, but Roland always believed in helping others. They decided to keep it a secret from Eric, fearing that he might refuse the help. Destiny began working harder on the farm, picking fruits and vegetables to sell at the village market. Roland took care of the farm's daily work, but both father and daughter focused on gathering enough produce to make a difference at the market. Destiny began selling the fresh produce. People from the village appreciated the quality of the fruits and vegetables she offered. But one day, Judah, a wealthy young man from the city, approached her again. Judah had been trying to get her attention for months. Every time he came to the village, he offered her gifts and promises of a luxurious life if she would only marry him. Judah made his usual proposal, promising her wealth and comfort. He talked about how much better her life would be in the city. Destiny remained calm, declining his offer. She didn't want the life Judah was offering. Her life, though humble, gave her peace. Judah grew frustrated. He didn't understand why she would choose to remain in the village selling vegetables when she could have a mansion in the city. He called her a fool for wanting to live in poverty, a dirty village who didn't know better. Judah stormed away in anger. Destiny continued selling at the market, her heart heavy but her mind clear. She had chosen her path, and she had no regrets back at home. Roland and Destiny kept up their efforts to raise money for Eric's surgery. Every coin they earned from selling vegetables went into a secret fund. But no matter how much they worked, it seemed like they could never save enough. Sophia, Destiny's best friend, came by her house one afternoon, her face serious, but with a hidden agenda. Judah had approached her earlier that day, handing her money to help convince Destiny to marry him. He was growing tired of her rejections, and he figured Destiny would listen to her best friend. Sophia, feeling important, took the money and agreed to help. After all, she thought Judah was a good match for Destiny, rich, handsome, and ready to take her away from the village life. Sitting with Destiny, Sophia casually brought up the topic of Judah, reminding her of how many times he had come to the village just to ask for her hand. She emphasized the wealth and comfort that awaited her if she said yes. Destiny, calmness, always looked at her friend and simply shook her head. She had no interest in Judah, no matter how much he promised. Sophia pushed further, talking about how Destiny could live in the city, have beautiful clothes, and never have to work in the market again. But Destiny remained firm. She didn't want Judah. She then revealed something Sophia wasn't expecting. She thought she was starting to fall in love with Eric. Sophia froze, unable to believe what she had just heard. Destiny in love with Eric, that poor, crippled, ugly man who had nothing to his name. Sophia's shock quickly turned into anger. She couldn't believe her friend was choosing poverty, choosing a man who had nothing to offer. In her frustration, Sophia spoke her mind, calling Eric a poor, crippled man, mocking his appearance, and insisting that Destiny was making a huge mistake. She couldn't understand how Destiny could even think about loving someone like him when she had a chance with a man as wealthy as Judah. Destiny remained calm through Sophia's harsh words. Her mind was made up. She told Sophia to stop coming to her house if all she wanted to talk about was Judah. Their friendship meant a lot to her. But if Sophia continued pushing her towards Judah, Destiny was ready to end it. Sophia, if you liked my video, please like and subscribe to the channel.